My name's Alex, and I'm going to be reading the story Marta and the Manger Straw, a Christmas Tradition from Poland, by Virginia Kroll. In a poor village in Poland, Marta and her mother were leaving church after the early morning Christmas celebration. Pastor Walter told Marta, "Take a piece of straw from the manger. Keep it with you, and you'll have riches all year. And remember, Marta, there are different kinds of riches." "Thank you, Pastor Walter," Marta said. "Merry Christmas." Marta pulled out a long stem of straw and slid it into the hem of her cape. The next day, Marta walked to her grandmother's house. When she knocked, a raspy voice called, "Come in." "Babcia, you're sick," Marta said. "Yes, child, and I'm almost out of tea. Worse yet, I did not go to church for my piece of straw." Marta quickly pulled out her straw and gave a bit to her grandmother. "Bless you, child," Babcia said. On the way home, Marta heard sobbing as she passed the Plendowski's farm. "Why are you crying?" she asked her friend Pella. "Our cow has run off," Pella said, "and now there is no milk or butter for me and my brother Bennick." "Oh," said Marta, snapping a second bit from her straw. She folded Pella's hand around it. "Here, take this. It will bring you riches." The next day, as Marta gathered wood for the stove, old Mrs. Wolska hobbled by. Clutching her shawl, she asked, "Dear girl, can you spare a log?" Marta knew that she and Mamusia were almost out of wood, but when she saw Mrs. Wolska shiver, she felt chilled herself. "Here, take this." She gave Mrs. Wolska a fat log. "And wait!" Marta turned up her hem and slid out the straw. Snap! Now Mrs. Wolska had some straw too. Marta slipped the now very short piece of straw back into her hem. As Marta shook out the rug, she heard a whine. She spotted two brown eyes and a mass of matted fur, the color of harvested hay. "Oh, where did you come from?" Marta asked. The sad-looking dog slowly wagged its scruffy tail. "I don't have a bite to spare," Marta sighed. "Mamusia hasn't been to market yet, and we have little money." There was only one thing left to do. With a silent prayer, Marta pulled the remaining bit of straw from her hem and slipped it through a snarl in the dog's ragged coat. Just then, Mr. Rafalski's fish wagon rattled by, bouncing hard on the rutted road. Marta waved as she hurried back into the house. After supper, Marta and Mamusia put their last log into the stove and snuggled down to sleep. As they slept, a spark spurted through a crack in the grate. Marta and Mamusia escaped just in time. They clung to each other outside as flames gobbled up their home and everything in it. "It's my fault," Marta sobbed. "I gave away all my manger straw, and now we are worse than poor." "No," Mamusia shook her head. "Your faith in God has made you into a loving, giving girl, Marta. And remember what Pastor Walter said. You can be rich even if you don't have money or things." She wiped away Marta's tears as they made their way to Babcia's house. Babcia comforted them. Then Marta realized that Babcia was all better. "I am well, and look at all this food my neighbors brought me. I was getting ready to celebrate with you, and did you notice the wood stacked outside? A neighbor's tree toppled in last month's storm, and he just dropped that pile off. Why, there's enough to last us all year long." The news about Marta and Mamusia's house spread quickly throughout the village. Pela and Bennick came by, each carrying a jug of milk. "We found our cow stuck in the muck, mooning to be milked," Pela said. "Papa wanted you to have this. He and Uncle Jan are fixing the fence so she can't escape again." Later, Miss Wolska hobbled up with two beautiful shawls for Marta and Mamusia. "My hands were so warmed up by the firewood you shared," she told Marta, "that I could pick up my knitting again. That evening, Marta watched the crackling fire glow in Bobcha's hearth. She heard a scratching sound. "What's that?" she asked. Bobcha said, "It's coming from the door." Marta bravely opened it up and peered into the darkness. Woof! Marta looked down. There on the stoop was the straw-colored dog, with a plump silver fish in his mouth. He wildly wagged his scruffy tail. She smiled as the dog slurped milk from a bowl and gobbled the morsels of buttered biscuit Marta shared with him. Later, Marta brushed the tangles from the dog's unruly fur. "You need a name," she said. "How about Straw?" "Woof," the dog agreed. When Marta knelt to say her prayers, Straw sat beside her with his chin on her bed. "Pastor Walter was right," she whispered. "There are many different kinds of riches. Thank you, God, for taking care of us." "Woof," Straw agreed again. Then he curled into a fluffy circle at her feet, and they slept snugly and richly through the night. The end.